my approach was, I guess, it was a design approach. I designed the design teams, and I started how you would start anything by just listening and understanding. So I think it's fair to say that at the point when I joined Virgin Atlantic, which was 2017, there was no product design team.
Right.
There was no researchers of any kind, no content designers. They had people in production, and they had product managers and content managers and a few others. But there was no product design at all, and the entirety of it had been outsourced for quite a long time.
Okay.
And so they didn't see a need in the business for it. So I wasn't kind of, encouraged to scale that team. I think when I started, I had 2 open roles.
Right.
I think was where I'd started from. And so my first task was to understand this situation and understand what the kind of perception of it was around the business. So it was user interviews, right? So I just picked people from around the business who I understood, were sort of pivotal and would help or would have opinions, and I asked them who else I should talk to. So it was like a kind of sort of a growing kind of list as I was going through it. And I made notes and I listened to people, and I had a script of things that I wanted to ask them about how they perceived the value of this team and where it had gone in the past and what had bothered them and what they were trying to achieve and all that kind of stuff. Had a big board of notes and I made themes out of it. This is basic research stuff,
familiar,
right? Pretty
Martyn.
straightforward. I made themes, and then I figured out, okay, well, these people are trying to achieve this. These people have been sort of burnt by this. This is what's needed over here. So I sort of took that kind of situation. Then I looked at what was happening. So they were, at the time, like I said, they were outsourcing a lot of stuff. And as an airline, as most airlines do, they're trying very hard to control costs.
Right.
I mean, I can't speak to what airline situation is today in 2022. It's probably not great. But at that time, everyone was controlling costs. So for me, that felt like a huge opportunity. So I figured out the cost of this outsourcing versus the cost of having that team in the building and to have employees. I looked at the things that people were trying to achieve, and I just steadily just put these things together into a strategy. And it was, I don't know, maybe it was around 18 months or so, and the team was close to 50 people at that point, and it was, we every time we had an opportunity to prove a value in some way, shape, or form, we did it, and we would, and then in doing so, the communication of the value became my primary function at that point. So that was huge at the time, because you got 10,000 or so permanent staff, I think, with a couple of thousand sort of support staff spread across 5 or so continents, multiple time zones. So you can't just do an all hands and everyone gets design, right? It's not that kind of deal. So you have to sort of campaign it, and I had to figure out what are the key messages that I spread over the course of each quarter. And what things do I have at my disposal? So I started using Slack. I started using the internal, intranet kind of thing. I started using the email mailboxes that we had. I started using whatever all hands I could go to. I went to heads of department and I said, can I come and speak at your team meetings? I've just got some stuff to say, and this is what I want to talk about, and introduce it. And that was my role. I was continually communicating the value of it. And it really was not a problem funding the team at that point. And people were coming to me telling me they wanted to hire more designers at that point. So the problem of me trying to say we should do this went away.
Right.